What's up, guys? This is Kalo, and normally I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming, but welcome back to another episode of Hot Topic, and today I'm joined by the man with the best stuff. Aiden, why don't you say what's
Yes,
up?
yes, I am here to talk about XDefiant. It has the best game. It is the card killer. It totally was not bad at all.
That's
Everything was perfect. It had millions of players.
that's like a mix of Doctor Evil and Trump, so I dig it. But
Dr. Trump is in the building.
does that make me mini me, I guess? Potentially. Who knows? But before we get into today's topic, we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you guys that like and subscribe to Game Sandwich. And if you want, join our Discord because we're always talking about video games there. And speaking of a video game we have to talk about today, well, XDefiant earlier this week was shut down by Ubisoft, and apparently this was because of poor player count and lack of player spending. People aren't spending that money on the live service games. Aiden, I think there's a bigger problem here in the gaming world, but I want to get your take on this first.
I mean, for one, I personally am not super surprised that XDefiant failed, but at the same time, I am surprised just solely because it's Ubisoft, and I figured they might actually keep it around for a while to test it more. But yet, it turns out corporate overlords just reigned supreme, and they decided, hey, we're going to pull the plug. So I don't know. It's hard to make it in the live service world. It very much is. We've already seen this with Rest in Peace Concord.
Always with us.
And so really it just shows that, and I don't know, it just shows that the live service industry is bad, and really I don't see why people keep trying to get into it.
That's my problem. It's okay to get into this space. We've seen people like Rocket League, we've seen all these different types of live service games get into this space. The
But those
problem,
are unique.
boom, you hit the nail on the head. That is the problem. We've seen Foam Stars chase the Splatoon model. We've seen Concord chase Overwatch. XDefiant chase Call of Duty. I mean, to the point, the lead of the studio, Mark Rubin, or the guy that headed up XDefiant, said this is the Call of Duty killer. You need to make your game different to survive nowadays. I get ballooning budgets make it tough to kind of take the risk, but at the same time, how many games prior to you have failed and just continue to fail? And it's like they never learned the lesson. I don't know. Like, is it that blatant? Is it that obvious to us and not to them? Like, am I missing something there?
I mean, I don't know how obvious it is from a financial perspective when it comes to launching the title. Honestly, I mean, from what I've heard, it had good reviews and everything. It had a lot of high remarks from like beta tests and alpha tests, and people genuinely really enjoyed it. And it showed a lot of promise at launch too. Like at launch, I think the stats were like that it got 8 million players or something within like the first month,
That's not bad.
and then that player count just plummeted. And then it got to the point where we ended up reporting on it, and it was also Insider Gaming reported on it as well, where the player count was dropping. And right here, I have it pulled up. Tom Henderson was the one who talked about it, and he said that some sources were saying that the player count would maybe reach 20,000 players across PC, PlayStation, and Xbox combined. When you have Call of Duty that is doing 70,000 players in the last like hour just alone on PC,
Mm-hmm.
or in the last 24 hours, 300 some thousand on PC. So that's like there's no way that XDefiant stood a chance to that.
Yeah.
Not at least
Not
without like
even.
maybe establishing itself for a while. Like I think Ubisoft pulled the plug a bit too soon, and they should have at least kept it around for like a year at the least.
Well, it came out in May, and albeit it made it farther than Concord ever did. I mean, grant you that was 2 weeks. But also, quick information if you are invested in XDefiant, I'd love to get your thoughts on that. But apparently the sunsetting process started on December 3rd, and it's going to be fully playable until June 3rd, 2025. So between now and
Unless
then,
you're a new player.
yeah, unless you're a new
That's
player,
correct.
can't be doing anything there. They're issuing full refunds for people who did get like the top tier edition, which the Ultimate Founders Pack, that's what it's called. Great, but I just the hubris, the gall, or whatever you want to call it, to go after Call of Duty and just say we're just gonna copy and paste this with like different aspects. It's mind-boggling. I mean, a studio like Redfall, or not the studio, Arcane Austin, who made Redfall, you've seen that go south pretty fast. Tango Gameworks, albeit that was a weird situation where they made a good game, but then were closed. It's so weird. But now Ubisoft San Francisco and Ubisoft Osaka, they're both closed. Ubisoft Sydney, that's being taken down a little bit. 117 total people laid off, and the rest of the XDefiant team, the other half, is being moved to other projects. It is just mind-boggling. We are talking about not only a game shutdown, a one that is a live service game, but a studio, in this case, 2 studio closures for 1.
Yep.
Again,
And it right here, Polygon nails it. It is nearly 300 people, with 143 of them being from the San Francisco office and 134 of them being across the Osaka branch and the Sydney branch. So really combined there, you got 277. So yeah, nearly 300.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this falls under the Tom Clancy, whatever you want to call it. Is it Tom Clancy's XDefiant?
No, I don't think. No, XDefiant's not Tom Clancy's because it's just
Okay.
a culmination of everything Ubisoft. So it was which I found interesting because I personally like some Ubisoft properties. Like I like Far Cry.
Yeah.
I am a fan of that series. And granted, I mean, some are better than others, but so, and I liked the Division as well. So seeing the Division characters in there, seeing the Fallout character, like Far Cry characters, I mean, in there, those both were really fun for me.
It's insane, and I look at games like Rocket League we mentioned before, Fall Guys, and even Rainbow Six Siege. It's like you seen it work very close with Rainbow Six Siege. You seen that you created this extraction shooter, or whatever you want to classify that game as, and it worked. It's a live service game that works. XDefiant, though, like, you played it. Is there anything categorically different between that and Call of Duty, or am I missing something?
I mean, did you ever play Black Ops 3?
Yes.
It's kind of like Black Ops 3 in the sense of everybody has their own special abilities and has an ultimate. So it's kind of like Overwatch in a sense, where it's like
hero shooter.
more like it's more like a hero shooter, but it is an arcade shooter at the same time. It's like a nice combination between Call of Duty and Overwatch, where I can't remember the faction. I think it's the Division faction, where they have the ability of like you can throw down a firebomb around you, and then you can also pull out a flamethrower. And absolutely love that. I thought that was great. And for Far Cry, the Highwayman, you can pull out the chainsaw gun, like chainsaw blade gun or whatever saw blade gun, and just shoot out a saw blade that bounces off walls.
But at the same time, if this plays like Overwatch, I've never played XDefiant, but you're going for Overwatch and Call of Duty, it's like, how many big titans of gaming, keep a lookout for that video, how many titans of gaming are you going for in one foul swoop? Again, and a live service game. Like, I don't understand studios nowadays where they see this, and it happens in single player games too. I mean, how many other of those big AAA games they've said, oh, we have this massive budget, but we need to recoup this much to consider it a success? Like, I view this as the industry's bubble is popping over and over again, and people are just ignoring the fact that it's happening. Like, head in the ground like an ostrich. Like, I don't want to know nothing about it. We're gonna release the next Fair Games is one of the next games coming out that are like this, and it's like I don't think that game's gonna do well either.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Fair Games is the one that's the heist one, right?
Yeah, from PlayStation.
See, I could see that one being better just solely because it is somewhat unique in that category where there's not a lot of heist games.
That's true.
I mean, really, you think of Payday when you think of heists, and
Yeah.
then that's it. I mean, they're going up against Payday, so I mean, they have one competitor in that when you have Call of Duty as your competitor, which has been around for 20 years.
Yep.
And so it's hard to go after go after a game series that's been around for 20 years versus one that's been around for like 10 or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, we saw it and with Epic Games where they made Fortnite, and when the Battle Royale released, I bet you they were in the negative when they released that
Oh
because
yeah.
they had to pay off all the developers who made the game and everything. So I'm sure they were very far in the red. And now years later, they are so far in the green that it's one of the most profitable games that there is. And so really, I think it also comes down to time.
Oh yeah.
And Ubisoft giving this game 6 months to make it back when they probably spent millions of dollars making it. That's not going to happen in 6 months. You're talking like year minimum two, maybe three. Keep that up. See if maybe you can pull people away. Yeah, people left, and there's a Reddit feed talking like subreddit talking about it where people specifically were saying that they left because of a lack of content, and they left because of Black Ops 6. And now if you give it, I don't know, give it until summer again, give it until spring, people will be a little bit tired of Call of Duty, so they'll be looking for something else. You know,
And that's
they
when they're
could have
pulling
at
the
least given
plug.
it time. Yeah, they
Yeah.
could have given a little bit more time. See if they get players back from Call of Duty. Call of Duty's a new experience. People will get sick of it. Add more content. People will come back for that content. They aren't doing that.
I also think this is more of a like systemic as it pertains to Ubisoft because a few months ago the guy said, "Oh, like we're not shutting down after season 4 or whatever."
They aren't.
Turns out he was right. They're shutting down before it in season 3. Do you think this choice was made like let's just say last week, or do you think this has been brewing for a while? Because I am in this notion that companies just don't act something like this so quickly. Like a week ago, this has been talked about, and I'm a sports fan. In case you didn't know, and this is the classic thing where like the team says, "We believe in this guy. He's our guy. We're not cutting him. We're not trading him." But then 2 weeks later, he's cut and or traded. So it's like I feel like that's XDefiant here. Like they said we're here for the long run, but at the end of the day, they kind of knew this was the deadline. If it's not met, goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, really, anytime, like, so he said it back in October, I believe, is when Mark Rubin said it. It was October 15th. He specifically said, I'm going to be crystal clear. There are no plans to shut down after season 4. He's been in meetings as of last week where they discussed their year 2 plans. Now, a lot of companies, and I will say this, like him being an executive, I don't really think matters. When the higher ups decide, hey, I want to pull the plug on something, they typically decide it like a while in advance and then just keep everyone in the dark
Yeah.
because they don't want to upset people and make them think, oh, it's gonna be fine. Like really, it was a sign of failure whenever he said there's no plans of us shutting down. That was the sign of failure. You don't say something like that unless something's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because like talk about the layoffs that happen all the time in the like video game journalism industry. Like Gamers Group. We saw them 2 years ago. We saw them say to all of their employees that, oh, everything's perfectly fine. We're doing great. We're in a good spot. Blah, blah, blah. Then, like, within a month after that, they laid off 60, 70 people at one time.
Yeah.
You
It's
see that every single year. At GameStop, they would do that too. They wouldn't let someone know they were firing them until it was right on time. They would tell them, "Oh, you're doing great."
mhm.
It's something that happens that you never see coming. So I guarantee you, not even Mark Rubin saw it coming. He probably heard about it 2 days ago, or not 2 days ago, because he made the announcement 2 days ago. But he probably heard about it like a week ago, and then went, "Well, now I'm sad because I thought this was doing great."
Yeah, and this goes to another game too. Like earlier this year, we talked about the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. It They gave up on that game fairly quick too. And the worst part is, much like Hi-Fi Rush, that game was critically acclaimed. A lot of people dug it, and they're continuing to be all about that game. They wish there was a sequel. They wish there was more there. I can't help but see the literal and not so literal kill streak that Ubisoft is on as far as bad choices go throughout the year. And I want to pose this question and kind of call your whole shot here. Do you think there's an acquisition on the horizon for Ubisoft? Whether it be PlayStation picking them up, Tencent, or like Xbox, even though I think that one's highly unlikely. Do you think we have an acquisition on our hands?
I mean, I could see it. I really could. I could see it if, specifically, if uh, Assassin's Creed Shadows
Yep.
does not work.
Yeah.
If that game tanks, then I can see Ubisoft looking to sell probably within the next year.
Okay.
I mean, when is Assassin's Creed Shadows release date?
I want
don't
to
even
say
remember.
February. It got moved back, and while you look that up, I can't tell
February
you.
14th.
Yeah, February. I can't tell you like the amount of stuff in general that's just riding on Assassin's Creed Shadows. One, longtime Assassin's Creed fans have been dying for a game set in this era. Number two, they pushed it back to put polish on the game. Who knows the state this game releases in? And now, following XDefiant and Prince of Persia, there couldn't be a game release that had more riding on it. Well, maybe GTA 6. We don't know too much about that. But as far as stakes go for a company and the future of it, Assassin's Creed Shadows is make or break.
Yeah, no, it is. Like, I think really if they expect to do good, then well, really if they expect Assassin's Creed Shadows to do good, they'll be fine. If it does good, hey, they'll be fine. They'll be able to take the profits from it, be able to continue on. But Assassin's Creed Shadows, if it does bad, I guarantee you that Ubisoft will be looking to sell probably within like the next within the next 2 years, guaranteed. Maybe next year, maybe not, maybe 2 years from now. And I don't know who would buy them though. I feel like I want to say Sony would.
I think
I
so
feel
too.
like Sony would go after them because they could easily help Ubisoft make better Assassin's Creed games
Oh, yeah.
and bring that franchise back to what it once was and maybe do something more with like the Far Cry series. But who knows? I mean, Ubisoft has some like really big franchises they could work with. All it takes is like one really good game, so like really the next game after Shadows could be another Rayman game.
Well,
That could be
allegedly,
amazing.
I heard rumors of something Far Cry related being worked on right now. I did a video on my channel talking about it a while back, and it sounded good. The game would take place in like New England or something like that, but for the most part, I I can't just help but look at XDefiant, look at Ubisoft. People in the gaming world, whether you listen to us or not, like it's okay to take chances and create a game that does fine. Like you're all right there. You don't need to be the next like multi-million, multi-billion dollar maker in the gaming world. You release one game, it does all right. The next one, you can learn from the mistakes there and build an even better game. It's like they're looking like 1 year in advance. Like if we can meet this quota, we're gonna be amazing. Like no, like
Not even.
yeah,
It's been 6 months since XDefiant, so
6 months. Concord did the speed run. As much as I bag on that game, I appreciate them for pulling the plug early. Like, it took some something. I'll put it that way.
I mean, the numbers had to be really bad for them to pull it that early.
Well,
I mean, it peaked at like 600 or something on PC. I can only imagine what PlayStation was.
Well, insider trade here at the time of Concord's release, like the Steam numbers were like 670, 6 something. And I made a joke. I'm like, if I have more subscribers on my little YouTube channel than players on the next big Sony IP that's supposed to be top of the line, we got problems. There are bigger problems there. And yeah, but I love all my subscribers. I love these subscribers too here on Game Sandwich. You should subscribe, by the way. There's an early plug. But any closing thoughts here about XDefiant? Do you have any words of wisdom about the gaming industry here?
I mean, the only thing that I will say is that really, Ubisoft, you should give this game more time. You should give it a year, give it maybe 2 years to see if it does good.
Yeah.
And then ultimately pull the plug because it is a live service game. But also because I do want to point it out, there is a YouTuber, smaller YouTuber with a couple thousand followers or subscribers by the name of Nightfall. They made a petition for XDefiant if you want to see it survive, if you want to try and keep it alive at all. At the time of recording this, it has roughly like 2,000, I want to say. Yeah, 2,000 signatures. So if you want to keep it going, see how many we can get.
It's
I
not
mean, who
bad.
knows? Maybe with enough voices, Ubisoft will change their minds. I mean, crazier things have happened.
That is true. I just can't help but think, like, they should have given it until June, not close it down in June. Like, hey, if June rolls around and we're not at this point, all right, let's shut it down. Like, hey, whatever. But, you know, it's a long time to June. Maybe they can have a change of heart. Maybe the player count goes up. Maybe people spend. I don't know. Like you said, crazier things have happened. But, with all that being said, that about does it for this episode of Hot Topic. We hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, we're always here on the Game Sandwich YouTube channel chatting about games, especially within our Discord. Links to that will be in the video description down below. But as of right now, I've been Kalo, joined by Aiden, and we'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed today's debate or want your weekly dose of gaming news content, consider subscribing to Game Sandwich for content just like this. And we'll see you guys next time.